We're live. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, get started with the disqualification show. Welcome back after a bit of a brief hiatus after our trip on the road here for the last couple of weeks. We are back at Info headquarters and covering the action from a wild weekend at the Brickyard. We're going to share this on Twitter here to get started, and we'll find out what happens in post-race inspection. Live. Join. Hey, how's it going, everyone? We got 4 people in the chat already. We'll get rolling here in just a moment. How about that Bubba Wallace with the 3rd place finish unofficially? No exaggeration. A nice, great run for him there. I mean, one of the best runs that he's had since Bristol, at least in a points race. The Bristol race last year that he was leading some laps in the spring. But lots to go over, lots and lots to go over after a very interesting event, very crash filled, very much like the one a couple years ago that Casey Kane won. And we now wait and see what the results are from technical inspection. Just putting this up on Twitter and we'll get rolling here. All right. So, unofficially, your last place finisher of today's Brickyard 400 is Landon Castle, the number 00 from Derek Cope's team Starcom Racing. It's unfortunate for them, but very fortunate that Landon apparently walked out of that car under his own power. A very scary hit that even bent the roof of the number 00 there with a right front tire failure. But definitely good to see him getting back out of the car there. That was a very scary accident and one of a number of spectacular crashes that really featured the race punctuated today's Brickyard 400, a race that's not typically known for having a bunch of major wrecks. I know, thinking back to doing the starting grids a number of years ago, I had to really kind of reach to find a lot of good clips of crazy action, especially after maybe about 2005, 2006 or so. That's why eventually that kind of went the way of the dodo after a while and wasn't a feature. But the Brickyard 400, perhaps that element of being a playoff race or the playoff cutoff now, how much of it had a factor in that, or how much of it was a factor because it was just, the new aero package. And I don't even know what the major factor would be. I guess just a combination of everything, but it seemed like more than anything, the cars just having a real hard time actually sticking to the track. It seemed like everybody was sliding around right from the very get-go, with Daniel Suarez's problem at the very beginning. It seemed to almost put him in position for finishing last, which would have been even more catastrophic for the playoff cutoff. As it turns out, he made a tremendous recovery, he and the Stewart-Haas Racing team, to get the 41 car back up there and get competitive again and actually start to do that whole deal. Yeah, lots of questions out there. Brought out the Gordon shirt here because of the anniversary of the first Brickyard 400 in 1994. And Tony Stewart was there. Oh goodness. Well, there you go. So you got everybody coming out of the woodwork there. But unofficially, again, Landon Castle, your last place finisher, turned out to be a rather competitive battle at the back of the field, a little even more so than in Darlington last week. We actually had a situation where a lot of big names were down there because of the incident. Actually started with Bubba Wallace on pit road, slowing down, coming down pit road. An entire line of traffic all the way back to Martin Truex Jr. just got caught up in it and ran into each other, and significant damage to a number of them, and ended up bringing them further back into the field. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 31st spot. Then you had, let's see, where did Truex end up? He ended up a bit further up. I thought he was still further back. 27th for Truex unofficially in the results. And a number of other competitors there as well. Just caused some significant mayhem there in the middle of the pack there, and took out a number of contenders that I think were going to be early favorites. I know Truex was last in this race in 2018. However, was able to work his way back out of that position, along with a number of other drivers that were trading in positions. And we'll get the article up later tonight, as well as the one for the Xfinity article. Also, a bit of a preview. One thing I'm looking to work in is actually a couple of quotes I had left over from Darlington that actually fit particularly into the Xfinity article, because I spoke with both JJ Yaley and Mike Harmon last week. We didn't have, unfortunately, enough time to post it before the race, but actually given The other part of the story this week with Harmon getting a whole lot of focus and Yaley being the last place finisher of the Xfinity Series race, I'm going to kind of merge that into that article. So look forward to that as well. I'll have some bonus Darlington coverage to kind of blend in to the Xfinity article, and we'll get that up later tonight as well. Yeah, I mean, a really unusual star-studded bottom five, including two of the Gibbs cars, with Kyle Busch having a spectacular engine failure, putting him out in the 37th spot, 39th with Eric Jones, who is part of the scariest accident of the day, right up there with Castles, of course. Brad Keselowski's wreck into the tire barrier coming off of turn 2, a scary situation, not just for the fact that the car almost flipped, but the sudden stop, and also the sudden stop from the car traveling backwards. Very good to see him climbing out of that car. I imagine that that's an unusual angle to have a driver actually, impact one of those barriers. It still would have been a bad accident if he had a safer barrier there, I would think. But the risk of, the safer barrier doesn't really grab a car the same way the tire barriers do. And I definitely see from the preliminary reports of, why Keselowski was as frustrated as he was about that. Perhaps something will be done about that. I mean, in Indianapolis, of course, being at the forefront of a lot of these new safer barrier technologies, even further back to that one IROC race where they had those plastic barriers that scattered all over the front stretch that one time. I'm sure that they'll reevaluate things and get ready for what's going to be now a 4th of July weekend race next year. It's going to be highly unusual. But a race that definitely had a different situation there. But let's see here. I'll just look at the rest of the results here. Unfortunate situation there that, when you have a lot of these big names that have struggles early on, it certainly opens the door for a lot of these underdogs to have good runs. And, again, their misfortune could actually be the fortune of a lot of these other teams. I know Racing Underdogs brought up that after one of the late cautions there, you had all four of the Rick Ware racing cars in the top 30 for the first time. I believe is the top 30 or the top 20. I know ultimately you see Josh Bilicki back in the 29th spot, the last of that group there. But again, a great run for them. I know at Darlington, they definitely had issues keeping up with the rest of the pack there. They got lapped about as early as Nemechek in the 27 and Gase in the 66. But still ended up finishing under power, which was impressive. The only one that had troubles really was BJ McLeod when he got collected into the wall. And even then, it was the second most laps completed of a Darlington last place finisher. So an impressive deal for BJ there. And he was kind enough to speak to me there on his way out of the garage area that night. Ryan Sieg, another great story here. Getting back into the Cup Series for the first time in a few years. Last time we'd seen him, he was making a few starts for BK Racing. BK no longer exists now, of course. But Sieg getting in the number 27 car, the number 27 being the last place finisher of the first Brickyard 494. That back then with Junior Johnson and Associates. This now a Premium Motorsports entry. Sieg in the 24th spot, 3 laps down. It shows in the unofficial results. Great run for him. Given that number of the runs in the BK car were definitely a bit more of a struggle, despite being as good as he's been in the Xfinity Series. He hasn't had as much of a chance to show for the Cup Series. I know there was that one race in the July race at Daytona that season where they basically had an engine failure right at the beginning, and him and Cole Witt were in a pretty close contest there for the last spot. Speaking of which, Reed Sorensen, we saw him surviving the action over at Darlington last week. That really nice look at MRN 50th anniversary car this time around in the Go Parts machine this time for the 23rd spot for him. Unofficially showed 22nd originally on the NBC crawl, but now updated to 23rd, one spot behind his teammate Ross Chastain, the 22nd spot. So really the 3 Premium Motorsports / Spire Motorsports cars in consecutive spots, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. The Rick Ware cars now shown in 25th, 26th, 28th, and 29th, split around Martin Truex Jr. So it definitely goes to show not only the struggles of Truex, but the fact that the Rick Ware team was able to get a good run in there, and all of them within 5 laps of the leader too. Given a lot of the struggles faced by a lot of the bigger teams out there, that's definitely something that they can definitely benefit from. And I would imagine certainly the Brickyard still maybe not the most the richest race. I mean, it's definitely one of the major events. And one would hope that any funds that they were able to earn from that, which also got us to a 40 car field for the first time in several races, that's going to certainly help them out further down the line. So let's take a look here at the rest of the lineup here. Again, very impressed with Sorensen and Chastain. David Reagan in the 20th spot here. Matt DiBenedetto got damaged in the pit road incident, ended up getting 18th. Looked like he was going to be challenging for a top 10 earlier. Unfortunate for Matt Tiff. That seemed like that was going to be a great story there. Tiff seems to be a good kid with a good head on his shoulders and everything. He had a good run at Phoenix earlier this year in the spring. We'd seen some solid like top 20s out of him here and there, and not too many DNFs from what I've seen. Even at Dover, where he had a penalty for the car failing inspection and having to do a stop and go at the start, he still salvaged a decent finish out of that. Looked like he was going to get about a 12th place finish there, if not an outside chance at a top 10. Ultimately collected an accident with Daniel Suarez at the end, and that dropped him all the way back to the 32nd spot unofficially in the running order. His teammate Michael McDowell in the 17th spot, and his other teammate David Reagan for Front Row Motorsports in the 20th position. A good rebound for McDowell after the hard accident he had at Darlington last week that tore apart the Jimmy Means throwback. Ryan Newman, definitely one of the men of the hour, finishing in the 8th spot, unofficially locks himself into the playoffs, bumping out Daniel Suarez, who was in originally along with his teammate Clint Boyer. Boyer looks to make the cut along with Newman. And on the other side of the line is Jimmy Johnson and Daniel Suarez, again, pending results from the post-race inspections. There's a lot hanging in the balance here as we wait for the results from that, not only for race winner Kevin Harvick and the last place finisher Landon Castle, but also the very close championship battle between Ryan Newman, who finished 8th, and Daniel Suarez in the 11th position. Looking further back through here, other good runs. William Byron, again, after his pole at Darlington, led one lap, finished in the 4th spot. Unfortunately, got involved in that accident with his teammate Jimmy Johnson that eliminated Johnson from the race and from the playoffs, which would basically, I think, again, still pending the results from technical inspection, would mark the first time that he has missed the playoffs in his career. I know a lot of people questioning about how much longer he's going to be in competition. It's easy to forget. I mean, just a couple of years ago, he'd won 3 races in 2017. And, that's a good season, for just about any of these championship contenders now. It's just been an unfortunate struggle here these last couple of seasons. You think back to the early 1990s and Dale Earnhardt's struggles, back when Dale Earnhardt, 1992, ended up falling outside the top 10 for one of the few times in his career. And then 1993 came back stronger than ever with new personnel. Andy Petrie atop the pit box and going back to win the 6th of his ultimately 7 championships. We'll see. I mean, you certainly hope that Ally Bank is going to, definitely stay on there. And it seems like, they've definitely put in a lot of effort there to keep promoting Jimmy Johnson as well. They should. For all his accomplishments, not only as a Cup Series champion, but also for his off-road experience. They brought out one of his old off-road trucks there last week at Darlington, and it's hopefully a relationship that they're gonna stay with him there on that. But yeah, I mean, very interested to see what he does next year. Certainly, we're going to some venues that he would definitely be a factor in. We still got a Dover race coming up. We got the Roval, where he very nearly won last year until his spin with Martin Truex at the end. And even Homestead, where he clinched his 7th championship in Victory Lane. Wouldn't count him out. I think perhaps now maybe some of the pressure is off. He did seem visibly nervous in a lot of the broadcast here, as well he should have been, even for a driver of his caliber. But I would imagine that the rest of this year, like he said, just go out there and just try to get as many wins as he can. You don't have to worry about points now. You don't have to worry about playoff rounds or any of that. Get some momentum to start up for next year. I mean, it's easy to forget, even just now, just thinking about him winning the Busch Clash earlier this year, although that came with a bit of controversy when he tangled with the dominant car of Paul Menard. But he did pull off that victory at least. So, I think there's a lot that both driver and sponsor and team can take from this year and hopefully build on that next year on top of the crew chief change that they made and everything else there behind the scenes. Maybe it just takes, a few small steps to start taking the big ones. So we'll see what happens on that end. What am I looking at here? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at your comments here and all that. Well, it's yeah. Well, different deals with the sponsor. I thought you guys were talking about Jimmy Johnson's sponsor with Ally Banks, but it's apparently a different deal there. I don't really know much about that deal, but okay. Well, let's see here. So, everything else from the action today, again, very interesting last place battle. A lot of competition there between the different drivers, especially as a result of the pit road incident. Daniel Suarez as well with his contact to the outside wall. Great hustle again for the Stewart Haas team to get him back out there. Seemed like he just had damage confined to the fenders, which was a big deal with them. But good effort to get him back out there. Chase Elliott with a lot of damage managed to stay on the lead lap, getting his lap back at one point and then staying on the lead lap from there. Kurt Busch, it's unfortunate that he couldn't bounce back from his issue there, ended up getting collected in one of those other accidents. I thought it was really interesting. I mean, really bringing up that it's rare to see this many drivers running beat up cars now with the crash clock being what it is. But there you go. You very much had that situation in this race with especially Kurt in particular, running a car that was very well beat up there, but still managing to maintain minimum speed, showing him 5 laps down to the 30th spot unofficially. Seemed like he had a really good car. I mean, again, just another accident that just took him back out of contention, much like at Darlington. Had a much better car at Darlington, I would say, than at Indianapolis, but still a different set of circumstances there. And yes, Chase Elliott in the 9th spot, 12 seconds back, the unofficial results here. All right. But yeah, no Jimmy Johnson in the playoffs. Not sure exactly what that's going to look like or what that's going to feel like, but I mean, we're all going to find out about that together. But Ryan Newman back in the playoffs. I mean, that's been a story that's been really impressive this year on the Cup Series side. I don't know if we've talked about it too much on the show here this year, but very consistent this year. I think that between Trevor Bayne and Matt Kenseth last year when they were splitting up the ride there, and Kenseth having some good rides, including at Phoenix last year, get some good finishes. It seemed like they had kind of a foundation they could build back on top of there. And they've had some good runs this year. I think in some times they've actually outperformed Ricky Stenhouse there and the teammate in the number 17, and really kind of benefiting from all that. So a good run for the number 6 with Ryan Newman. Seems to be a good fit with a veteran team and a veteran driver there. And it's good to see them get any modicum of success out there, even if they're not the most dominant team. It's I know that there's been a lot of controversy around there. I mean, certainly Clint Boyer would agree from the All-Star race and Matt DiBenedetto from Bristol. But Newman's always been that very difficult driver to pass. And it's good to see that he's still rooting and gouging out there. And he's really one of the veterans. I mean, we kind of have to get our heads around it on that. He's one of the old guard nowadays. I mean, if you have a driver that's made their first start in 2000 or 1999, even, you get people like Kurt Busch or Ryan Newman that are still out there and stuff. It's funny to me to think of those guys as veterans. I remember when they were just kids out there, the Gillette Young Guns, but times definitely change over the years. But it's an interesting trend there. But yeah, I mean, with Jimmy Johnson, I mean, as to whether or not he deserved a playoff spot, I mean, you raise a good, question there, Andrew. I mean, it's hard to think of it in those terms because, I mean, if you get the points and you get the performances, even if you just squeak your way in, I mean, you've earned it. I mean, I heard the similar debates about Jeremy Mayfield back in the old Dodge days there when he had to win and get his way in 2004 and then point his way in 2005. He may not have been like one of the last people that was challenging for the championship that year, but definitely earned his spot. So, I think that there's too many bells and whistles on the current point system. I think now with the current point system being what it is, where basically one position is 1 point, I think it really negates the need for a playoff system with rounds and with elimination groups and all that other stuff. I mean, it's a whole other topic, but it certainly since 2011 when they restructured the point system, I think that made the point system easier to understand. So you knew that if you were 20 points back, you knew you had to have a net gain of at least 21 positions on the guy in front of you to get ahead of him. And that's about as easiest way you can understand it. And then you get all these bonus points for winning races and all that, and playoff points versus the other points and what points work. I mean, it's really hard to follow, but and I'm sure we're not the only ones that think that, but maybe it'll change sometime in the future there. Let's see. Just looking at everything else here in the results, Paul Menard very quietly with a 10th place finish after starting on the outside pole. Great run for him. Ty Dillon brushing off rumors. I don't know where the rumors came from exactly that he was going to be retiring from racing. Turns out that Ty was very clear in denouncing those, finishing 13th in the car number 13. So good run for him. Ryan Priest dodged another multi-car pileup on the coming off of turn 2, returning to form that we saw him earlier this year, both at Daytona as well as I believe it was during the Xfinity race at Las Vegas, avoiding large pileups and just finding a hole and driving through it. Good for him out there. Good for him for sure. Corey LaJoie bouncing back from nearly getting last at Darlington to finish 19th. Again, good to see, the 4 wear cars being able to have a good finish. So definitely turned out to be to the team's benefit to enter all 4 of their cars and bring the field up to 40 cars for the first time in several weeks. So that's the big part of it there. Let me look up the Xfinity race as well, and we'll jump into that and kind of talk about the action from yesterday. It turned out that it really seemed like yesterday was going to be really the wild race of the weekend, with the tangle between Tyler Reddick and Christopher Bell very late in the race, battling for the lead. It shook things up and unfortunately then opened the door for Kyle Busch to win yet another Xfinity race, but now his last Xfinity start of the season, winning it from the pole, beating Justin Allgaier to the finish. Allgaier looked like he had a really good car out there, leading 24 laps, but unfortunately it was not meant to be for him. Jeb Burton again being impressive. You mentioned Ryan Priest earlier in the Xfinity race at Las Vegas. Jeb Burton now driving that same car, the number 8 car, and finishing very well there ahead of Justin Haley. Haley had a great throwback scheme on his number 11 this past week. Kind of a lime green look there. That was a throwback to an old drag racer from years ago. So that was cool to see. And they got a good finish there. Parlayed a little pit strategy to defend their 7th place starting spot and come home in the 5th place, ahead of guys like Cole Custer and Austin Hill. Certainly one of the big stories there. Following up on the story that we talked about back at Darlington last week when Timmy Hill spoke with me about the Motorsports Business Management team entering the number 61 car as a car long entry and not a Hattori Racing chassis, which is why it's been fielded under Carl Long, and very much the same situation with the 61 this past weekend. The big difference is just the wrap, of course, whatever difference that makes, and the tires, running fresher tires. So the fresher tires came in again for the number 61. Austin Hill got back in the car for the first time since his DNQ in the July race at Daytona and finishes in the 9th position, actually 2 spots further back than Timmy Hill's great run at Bristol. I don't know if it was the same car or not. I have to defer to Sebastian LaForge and the other folks there at Motorsports Business Management on that. But a great run for them. And definitely got to give a call out to them. Give a shout out as well to Gray Galding. The great story for him this year is continued with the Bobby Daughter team, finishing in the 13th position. Jeremy Clements just right on the outside of the top 10. Ronnie Bassett was around 20th for most of the race yesterday. Ends up climbing all the way to the 15th position. Garrett Smithley in a good run for the number 0, the number nothing there in the JD Motorsports group. I believe that was, let's see, was that tops of the JD cars? I believe it was. He was ahead of the 4 with Castle. Yes, because there's McLeod. And then further back to the others. Yes, there's a 0-1 of Stephen Light. Okay, yes, so that was the top finishing of the group there. So great job for Smithley, the number 0. Good kid for sure. I really appreciate him talking to me on the grid at Darlington last week before he got the 54 for Rick Ware. Good to see what he does out there. Stephen Parsons, speaking of Darlington, another driver that ran last week, came back to run Indianapolis, and another solid finish for him on the lead lap in the 19th position, driving the Phoenix construction car for BJ McLeod's team. Looked very much like the car he ran at Darlington. Don't know if it was the same one or not, but it definitely looked the same for the broadcast. Regardless, either way, a great run for him. Let's see, Ryan Sieg, we overlooked him there, the 10th spot there. Again, he's just been a blue chip driver there. On top of his great run in the Cup Series there, continuing to keep things going on the Xfinity Series side. Tommy Joe Martins tweeted the other day that he finished 24th, but he was running much better than that up until then. Things just got really crazy there at the end, which perhaps attributes all these other drivers shuffling their way up there, including Joey Gase, who ended up with an 18th place finish as Martin's teammate there, driving the Tabasco Fiasco throwback again on the Zombie Toyota. and finishing 18th ahead of the Supra of Stephen Parsons. So good to see a good run there. Brandon Brown ends up getting tangled up in an accident. Unfortunately, isn't able to keep going with his top 20 streak from this year. One of very few accidents that he's had this season. But unfortunately, only a 28th place run for him, but still shows him finishing under power laps down. So there's a lot of fight in that number 86 crew. Unfortunately, last week at Darlington was one of those ones where they couldn't quite get it to the finish. Damage was a little bit too severe on the Terry Labonte throwback, depicting the number the 1993 car there. Tony Stewart climbed the fence again. I wasn't watching that there, but that sounds awesome. Right on, right on. Very interesting. We had full 2005 again. As we mentioned, though, yeah, the lead battle between Christopher Bell and Tyler Reddick came to blows. Both of them, Bell got loose under Reddick, slid them both into the outside wall, and that was it for them. Mike Harmon ended up being a big part of the story this week for reasons involving the opening practice session and an alleged trip to Applebee's or Burger King, depending on which tweet came first or which one came after. Harmon actually sponsored by Applebee's years ago when he had different other backers on the number 74 car. Nowadays, a lot of his backers are really focused more on military donations, very much patriotic schemes that are usually run on the car. He was running the throwback that he ran at Darlington last week, again without the silver stripe on it. That they had a reflective strip that had to be taken off the sides of the car because it, according to NASCAR at least, interfered with technical inspection, the laser inspection. But Harmon ran the car again, and that same car in practice, unfortunately, ripped off the rear TV panel off the back of Michael Annette's car for JR Motorsports. There's definitely been strong words on both sides of the battle there between the JR Motorsports group and with Mike Harmon there. It seemed like Harmon apologized there and immediately afterwards, and Annette still took offense to it there, was calling him an idiot, and things kind of escalated from there because Harmon's old school. Talking with him, I wouldn't cross that guy there. Very hard worker there on the team. I was very fortunate to speak with their PR person there to kind of tell me a little bit more about the team and everything, and compliment the interview that we had last week at Darlington. And again, for those of you just joining in, we're going to merge that into the Xfinity article on JJ Yaley's last place finish from yesterday's race in the Xfinity series, and you'll have that later tonight. So we did get some good interviews. I've just been checking over a lot of that. Things went so quick there through the weekend. Even during the rain delay, I was just going out there and trying to get whoever else I could get at the time. That's also when I talked to Yaley last week. So fortunately, we have that. And some of it's more befitting of what was happening at Darlington. But I think a big subject that really came up during a lot of last week, and I think would actually apply a lot to this week, was the effect of the downforce package and how long you can stay at full throttle at some of these tracks. I believe Yaley put it that if you ran the Cup cars from last year the way that you run the Cup cars now, by the time you got into turn 3, you would just drive straight into the fence and you would just completely annihilate your car. It got to the point there where Yaley was switching back into the Xfinity car and he was overdriving it because he was trying to drive it the same way as the Cup car now, but with a different amount of horsepower, different handling and everything. You had to really finesse the car a lot and make sure that you drove it much like the cars used to. So it was interesting to see that effect because it was very hard to tell that really from at least from where I was standing from one year to the next in how different it changed the racecraft out there. The big difference I noticed after watching the broadcast, just how the engine sounded. It was like a plate race where you just hear them just stay in the full throttle as far as they can around the track, and made things really interesting. I believe Joe Nemechek was also talking about that to a degree as well, and how much he had to change his driving style, especially with Nemechek, much like Yaley, has now been on the circuit for a long time. I mean, Nemechek much longer than Yaley, but again, having to kind of relearn things a little bit with this new car and how to change your approach to racing out there. So I'm gonna kind of figure out how to fix that in there, but I'm gonna put that into the article from those and get you some information on that. Did they ever do an interview with Bubba Wallace after the race? I turned it off after Rodney Childers came out to talk with Harvick. I don't know if there was anything Excuse me. I imagine there's going to be at least, usually with the top 5 drivers, they're going to do the press corral and all that, and they usually get the TV guys mixed in there. At least they did at Sears Point. I didn't go to that at Darlington, so I don't know what the situation was with that. Yeah, still no Bubba on there. Okay. Well, I mean, we'll see. Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, somebody picks him up. I'm sure that's the advantage of having a lot of people there at the track to actually kind of cover this stuff. If something gets missed, hopefully somebody's going to pick it up there. But I'm sure we'll hear from him further along the way. But looking at the bottom of the field there, I mean, Morgan Shepherd being in the 36th spot there ahead of David Starr. David Starr had an engine failure in the Jimmy Means Racing injury. Morgan Shepherd out after 34 laps with handling woes at the number 89. Certainly, again, hoping that Shepherd's feeling better after we last saw him at Darlington. He wasn't feeling well there, but still did 27 laps at Darlington, and doing another 34 at Indianapolis is no small task either. Kyle Weatherman in the number 17, a combined effort between Rick Ware's team and Mike Harmon's team. I'm going to have some more on that. I actually spoke with the PR folks there at Harmon's team to kind of get some more information on that. And so I'm definitely appreciative of them providing some more information on that. And I'm going to put that into the article. Harmon himself climbed out of the bottom 5. It got up to the 32nd spot before he fell out with electrical problems after 42 laps. So rounding out the bottom 5 ended up being Austin Dillon, who had problems earlier on in the race and then ultimately fell out with fuel pump issues on the Kaulig Racing number 10 machine. Let's see. Looking through the rest of the lineup there, I mean, that pretty well covers a lot of the big names there. Josh Williams, good run for him in the 17th spot. We mentioned Greg Alding earlier. A lot of the usual suspects closer to the top there, especially Algar and Gregson. That's another thing too. How do you guys pronounce Noah Gregson? I always go Gregson, like it's spelled like Greg Biffle, but I've heard Gregson, and they really drag the A. Like they did that over at Darlington. I kept hearing it sounded like the person had never heard of the driver before. I know it's spelled with an A, so it's literally Gregson, like drag. But like they seem like they really slipped it. They were like saying, okay, it's Noah Gregson coming off the corner. I don't know if it was like an accent or something. I don't know. It threw me off. I mean, there's a lot of that's a name I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot more of. We certainly heard a lot of it at Sonoma when he inherited the win from Ryan Preece after the DNQ there for the Cup Series rookie this year. Yeah. See, that's the thing. I keep hearing Gregson in the broadcast too. That's what it looks like. Yeah. All right. Well, we're very early on here into the timing. Okay, the race results have just refreshed. Looking at it here, not really any surprises in terms of the listed reasons out. Accidents for pretty much everybody 32nd on back, except for Kyle Busch with his engine failure that dropped him to the 37th spot. Let's see, anybody else? No, that's about it. I mean, great run for Boyer out there. I mean, he was really solid at Darlington. But then to avoid that accident there on the backstretch there with Alex Bowman, it seemed like these cars just hooked around really quick. I mean, between Keselowski's hit into the tires, Jimmy Johnson's hit into the outside wall, and then the incident that sent Alex Bowman into a spin, it seemed like for some reason, I guess these cars bottom out even harder after they wreck. They're already bottoming out as much as they can with the high drag coefficient and all that. But it seemed like I mean, I was surprised a lot of these accidents didn't collect more cars than they did. Much like we saw the big pileup turn 4 at Darlington. At Indianapolis, we had a number of 1 and 2 car accidents there, including even the Eric Jones and Brad Keselowski accident, which had been even more serious than it was, given the tire barrier. And then Bowman also finding the tires during his accident. It's going to be interesting to see what's reevaluated in terms of the safety barriers there at Indianapolis and find out what happens going forward there. Let's see. Talladega for Talladega? I don't know. I've also heard like Matt Kenseth was mispronounced. I think there was a segment he did at Sonoma last year where he said the proper pronunciation, so you can't even pronounce that right. The proper pronunciation of his name is Matt Kenseth. It's almost like Kennesaw Mountain Landis, the old Supreme Court justice. Yeah, Gregson. So you got that. So you got Gregson, Talladega, and Matt Kenseth. So, everything is pronounced wrong. We find out it's amazing how much of history nowadays is like that. I mean, the History Channel doesn't really do history anymore, but what few documentaries we see, it always shows us that, oh, George Washington didn't look like he did on the $1 bill. He had a taller face and he had different hair. It's like, okay, well, all right. Did he have wooden teeth or not? Like, okay, well, okay, they weren't wooden teeth. They were like different animals. Like, okay, if we can't even get like, if we can't even figure out like the proper look of like the first president of the United States, like how are we supposed to like figure anything out? Like really? But that's the way everything is now. Everything we know is wrong. Everything we know is wrong. Like everything is completely different. And it's like, okay, well, where else do we get this information? But then again, I mean, I'm not really one to talk. I mean, that's kind of the way my book turned out. Certainly was a lot of misconceptions about things. And so, I think we're all just kind of figuring out the bounds of the internet and just what we can do with it. And we're finding really interesting stuff that was probably always there, but we just couldn't find it or couldn't put it together the right way without the right tools. And so it's an exciting time, but it's a frustrating time too, I got to say. You really got to be on your P's and Q's. I feel like I'm correcting myself more than ever right lately. Gosh, just even in little things. Like, I mean, back at Darlington, I thought for sure that guy that came in with Cole Custer was Buckshot Jones. He looked just like him. Like, I mean, like I'd never met the man before, but he looked spot on. So I don't even know if I found out who he actually was, but, and it didn't help that he had the shirt and he had the hat and all that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly the way I pictured him looking when he was driving the Crown Fiber car or when he was driving the Georgia Pacific car. And I was ready to interview him as Buckshot. I had it all planned out as he came back, and then it turned out it wasn't him. So, that was a crazy deal there. There's a Bubba interview from Dustin Long. Okay, good for him. Good for him. So hopefully we'll get some more information on that as well. Get back into the rhythm here on the old disqualification show. It's been a couple weeks here. I mean, again, we did the wrap up show after Darlington earlier this week, and that turned out to be a really fun one too, because we had the lefty loosey righty tighty guy, the Huller driver from Go Fast Racing joined us that night, so that was a lot of fun. If you haven't seen that, definitely check out my YouTube channel there, and that's all on there. He actually had some really valuable insight into some of the technical questions that came up during our trivia segment. And again, we'll do the trivia thing tonight here as well. We'll probably get to that pretty soon, because I think we've jolly well covered the cup race and the truck race pretty well. If there's any other subjects that I'm clearly missing, definitely let me know. But those are definitely the big ones to talk about between the great runs for Bubba Wallace on Sunday and okay, there we go. I see the Dustin Long interview. How about we pull that up? You want to pull it up? Let's watch this, folks. Let's get this over on the screen here. Let's see if that works. And let's get the mic. Can we get the mic up here? I think that's muted. Whoa. Sorry, folks. Let's turn that down. Okay. Let's cue that back to the beginning, and we'll find out what we got here. Yep. Hang on. Come on, video. You can play. Here we go. And now it's not loading. Goodness me. All right, we're going to try to refresh that. Now I'll probably jump it down the list a little bit. Okay, we'll just type in Dustin Long's list here. Well, I'm glad somebody caught up to him there. If the NBC crew didn't, I gotta say, while I'm pulling this back up again, I was a little disappointed really by the way that pit road incident was covered during the beginning of the race. It seemed like they were very dismissive of that. Like maybe they were running behind on a commercial break or something 13 laps into the race, but that was a really critical moment in the race, I gotta say. I get that you can't see everything. I mean, everybody's only got 2 eyes and 2 ears, so they're gonna, everybody's gonna miss something. But they got a lot of people there. I mean, if you got all these people standing around on the tops of the each corner of the track doing the radio play-by-play thing, and you got people in the booth, and you got the people with the cameras, and you got access to the scanners, you divvy up the labor a little better. I think it seemed like, and it was interesting because during the rest of the broadcast, they were kind of playing catch up. Like they would go back to the replay like 4 or 5 times about 30 more laps into the race. And it was ridiculous. It's like, you could see it right from, and when you watch the thing over again, you could see it from pit row that there was some log jam there in the middle, and then kind of minimizing it too, like it wasn't important. It's interesting because it's the same mindset that, was saying like, okay, well, it's like charity to talk about some of these small teams that don't get talked about because, the focus is on the big guys going for the lead. Well, what's the excuse here? Now you have a situation where several of these big drivers are all running into each other. You had Martin Truex, you had Chase Elliott, you had you had all these other competitors up there. And then in the mix, you also, of course, had Bubba Wallace and you had Ricky Stenhouse that maybe aren't as much as big contenders, but they were all right in the middle of it. And perhaps part of a problem of that is the playoff format, because you're only looking at maybe a couple of drivers there. Certainly the big focus in this broadcast was looking at Clint Boyer and Ryan Newman and Daniel Suarez and Jimmy Johnson, and everything else was just like everything else. But do we really need everybody in the booth to be looking at just those four people, or can we spread it out a little bit and have somebody actually look down pit road? I mean, they have pit road reporters. Now, I know from standing on pit road at Arlington, you can't see everything all the time. I mean, there's a lot going on. You're jostling for space with a lot of people, and those guys on TV, they got a lot of equipment that's got to get through a really tight space. Like a guy that holds like, a big Lord of the Rings staff with a TV screen on it, and then your cameraman behind them, and they got to kind of wobble their way in there and get the story as best they can. And then even, me coming in there with my pocket recorder and my gear like that, it was very challenging too. We didn't get up till like the front of the pit road there until really well into the first stage. But at the same time, I mean, there's a way to do that. I mean, I can't imagine that the track with the longest pit road is going to be in a situation where you can't actually see what's happening when there's an incident on pit road. That just seems ridiculous to me. And again, especially when it's involving a lot of the big drivers out there, I think that should have been treated a lot more seriously. I'm not like it's a serious thing, but treated like a lot more importantly. I think without making too much more of this, this is really a commentary on how the playoff system has affected the perception of each race as an individual event. That each race is now secondary or even tertiary to its role in the playoffs and the championship. That everything is the playoffs and the championship. Even Daytona 500, where points aren't really an issue at all and the prestige of the race is big enough. I mean, how quickly do they come back in and say, oh, well, he's punched his card into the playoffs? And it's like, okay, well, that's true. And that's the way the point system is. But at the same time, is that really the most important thing that's happening? Is that really the most interesting thing that's happening? No, it isn't. And again, I'm not saying that everything was perfect, in a previous time, but I think that's another thing that would be beneficial from doing a full season championship is you would be in a position where each race matters. Each race is significant. I mean, tell me right now. I mean, I'm going to put this to a test here. Don't go into Racing Reference right now. I want, everybody in here to tell me right now who won the first Pocono race. Who won the first Pocono race in June? Just type it out right now. Can you do it? Can you type it really quick? I don't remember. I mean, was it Kyle? Was that the one that Kyle won, or was that the one that Hamlin won? Was that, or was it neither of them? Was it somebody else? Was Harvick in there? See, you don't remember because that's the problem. You now have each race is just a step to get towards the playoffs. You remember the top 16 in the playoffs, but you don't remember who won each race. You don't remember who had a good run in each race. Gosh, I'm actually having trouble thinking about who finished last in that one. Was that one of BJ McLeod's? BJ was last in one of the summer races last year. I think it was the second Pocono race, and he was last at Dover this year. And June Pocono. Gosh, I mean, Rick Ware's team has really been struggling this year. They finished last in a number of races. I think maybe it was McLeod again. McLeod was last at Kentucky. See, again, I mean, it's tricky for me too. Yeah, that's really different. Okay, so there you go. Yeah, Kyle Busch. Yeah, he complained about the aero package that week. Well, you got to be way more specific than that. But yeah, I guess I take your point. Okay, see, there you go. I mean, that's the thing. And see, it shouldn't be that difficult. Because that one thing I really like is I like to be able to pick out little moments, like mentioning, Matt Tiff's thing where he came back from the penalty at Dover. It's all in how it's presented. It's all in how significant it is. I think in that one, it was presented as something big because it was a penalty that hadn't been exercised that often. So when it was suffered by Tiff, it was actually, a story. So it stood out. And of course, in my beat, it made, direct sense because it was a role in that. But Yeah, that was kind of a thing there. But not to make too much of that. But I mean, again, the broadcasts are definitely a big thing that that's sticking my craw, and this was definitely one that that stood out as well. That it just that was a big event with the big teams. If they're if you're gonna ignore the smaller teams and the teams that maybe aren't as big of names and call it charity, that you mention them at all, and maybe get their names wrong or their teams wrong or something like that just casually, well, you can't just apply that also to not mentioning not mentioning things when the big teams actually have something happen. The goal should be to plug as many leaks as possible, have people out there. If they can't see it, if they're missing something, then something needs to change. And I'm not talking about something as drastic as having different people in the booth. I'm just saying they have the resources. Just point the cameras different directions. Don't, and don't move the cameras with the traffic. How about some static shots? How about some wide shots? I mean, there were some shots they used in the Brickyard today. I mean, okay, this is gonna be a full-on broadcast thing now. There were some shots today, like that was that one. They didn't use it that often, but there was that one from the inside of, I believe it was turn 4, from the opposite end of the grass. But there's a long distance from where the camera was on the inside wall to where the cars were. And on top of that, the camera was moving. So you really couldn't see. It wasn't like the thing at Daytona on the backstretch that they did in Daytona years ago, where you're right up next to where the cars are and you get a really good sense of speed. You get a sense of how tight the pack is together. It didn't work as well at Indianapolis because the gap was too far away. It'd be the equivalent of trying to do that at turn 4 at Darlington, where you have that large flat area that people always get lost in trying to get down to pit road. And then at the very end, a little bit of banking there, that's where the groove is. I mean, it's why you have people miss pit road all the time. Yeah, so that's a different deal there. But yeah, without further ado, let's do the Bubba Wallace interview here. As I don't want to just leave that on the screen here without playing it. Okay, here we go. Hopefully it plays this time.
Where the season started, where we were at, the first 10 races in, and then ever since starting, and we've still been bringing some heat, and it's just the passion and drive that my team has, and it's a freaking blast. Coming to the racetrack, being away from the racetrack with my guys. Smaller teams, more like family, and it truly means a lot. So it's just an unforgettable day here at Indy. V3, all my technology on our Chevrolet. Hey, boy, thanks for ruining my day.
So unfortunately, the video's locking up here.
First good as your day was in the weekend. First pit stop really could have been. Yes. I have no idea. So I was supposed to come around 37 and go long. And I seen the 37 pull in. I lifted and went to turn in. And next thing you know, I'm heading right for Jimmy Johnson's guys. And I got scared for them because I couldn't stop. What I should have done, thinking going back on it, is get off the brakes and turn and get away from them. But luckily, thank God, we missed their pit crew and didn't crush them because I couldn't stop at all. And so I wonder what happened. They were like, the 9 just ran over you. So I was chased for a little bit. And then I see like 9 cars have damages. So I was like, it had to be an accordion effect. But I thought our day was over with. And I thought that was just how our luck is summed up all year. Having really fast cars and some dumb luck fixes out. But hey, it didn't.
There we go. So Bubba Wallace there. I apologize to getting the video not playing for some reason, but you get the audio there. But good run for Bubba Wallace and overcoming the setback there from coming down pit road there, and the log jam that unfolded behind him. I believe it was about lap 13 there. So yeah, goodness me. But let's see. So, oh yeah, you mentioned Austin Wayne's self-suspension. Yeah, I forgot about that. See, I mean, I think about the Tyler Dipple thing. We talked about that back on Tuesday. Yeah, see, again, little things that come along the way. Stories kind of get lost. I mean, it's kind of the same thing as the major news cycles these days. I think an almost better way to keep track of information is just create a list of search terms from things that happen, like not full on stories, but just search terms. And then you can just click on those, go to the Google link and get more updates on those things. Like if you want to learn more about something like Austin Wayne's self-suspension, or somebody's win earlier this year, or somebody having a career best run or something, we kind of need to build on that. I don't know what the infrastructure of that would look like, but that's almost the way you have to kind of internalize information these days. Because I feel like at the end of the year, or even right now, there's a lot of stuff I'm just kind of forgetting about. Yeah. See, and again, the Kyle Busch win at Pocono. Like I remember the Hamlin one because he had the fuel mileage and he just was stopping. He was just gave up saving fuel, went around, drove around everybody, and got up there again. But different deal there. Am I as dark as I look on this camera here? Why does it look like that? I gotta bring this thing back a little bit. Yeah, that's not really much better. All right, let's try. Okay, I don't mean to make it look like I'm playing poker in here or anything. I got my Kirk Shelmerdine look going here with the hat. Okay. Well, let's see, folks. How about we do? Okay, we're about 50 minutes into this. How about we go ahead and jump into our trivia segment here? We're going to bring out the Ricky Rudd car again and jump into that. But driver suspensions and also crew chief suspensions. If I'm not mistaken, isn't Matt Borland doing the road to recovery because he had something in his coffee? Like that was a bizarre one. Like, I mean, it's coffee. I mean, I know that. I remember when I was in NC2A, there was a regulation about like caffeine intake, and there was a certain limit that you couldn't exceed, or it would qualify as like a controlled substance. But they told me, I mean, at the time, I mean, I got my diet, I got my diet sodas and all that stuff like that. And it's like, well, you'd have to basically drink like, I don't know, like 3 gallons of that stuff every hour or something to break the rule. I understand in the Borland situation, last I heard, it was something about like a different additive that was just in the particular brand of coffee. And just, ridiculous thing. I mean, it seems like that's not the intent of the rule, and you have, and Bailey Curry also with the weight training supplement as well. I mean, Curry's, again, I haven't had the good fortune of speaking with him yet, but I mean, I've followed him closely online here with the different runs he's had and making his cup debut this year with a Ware team and the work that he's done for a lot of these small teams out there. It's again, you take a supplement, try and do the best that you can to stay competitive, and lo and behold, it turns out to have something that is banned by a certain sanctioning body. And that's the problem. I mean, when you ban certain substances, but not certain products, you're forcing yourself to actually really look at things a lot closer than perhaps you ordinarily would. And it's unfortunate because then it gains this stigma that perhaps could be something completely innocent, much like what happened with Tyler Dipple there. I mean, it turned out it wasn't even, a stop to the border thing. It wasn't even a drug related thing or any kind of like serious infraction. It was a simple misunderstanding. I mean, it was the equivalent of, almost like, just forgetting your passport at the border and you get turned away. Like, okay, well, I mean that happens, but that doesn't mean it's anything sinister to it. It's been really unusual this year with the suspensions and whatnot, and certainly hope that all those clear up as soon as they can, as we now round out the season, head into the Cup Series playoffs, and then the cutoff for the Xfinity playoffs coming up pretty soon here, and I guess it's in Richmond or is it in Las Vegas. It's pretty soon after this, next couple of weeks. And then we go Roval racing. That'll be exciting. Get back to the racing being the story again. Certainly can't forget about who won the Roval last year with Ryan Blaney taking the victory after that incident at the end. Was anybody else getting visions of like Petty and Pearson in 1976 with that? Like I thought that was really exciting. I didn't realize that Johnson was stopping in the penalty box because he was afraid that he was going to get docked for cutting the corner. I thought it was just like they were actually both stalled and they were trying to get the cars going again. Also, that, of course, brings up the issue with, or not the issue, but the story of Kyle Larson's thrilling victory on the dirt track here just this past week, and getting that 3-car tangle at the end. That was really exciting to see. But old Larson, he gets that done. He mentioned the Placerville Speedway today. That's actually not too far from me as well. I haven't been there yet, but definitely it's one that's on my list here. And with Larson's endorsement of it, definitely even more of a reason to check it out. So. Yeah, Vegas is the first round for the playoff for the Cup, but I think Vegas for Xfinity is the cutoff race. Yeah, I think you're right, Beast of Metal, because they don't. And it's weird. It's unfortunate. It's all staggered that way with the schedules being what they are. Because now you have like the Truck Series as well. They're about wrapping up their first round of the playoffs in Vegas, so you kind of have everything staggered in a weird way. And again, still, that's our plan right now. By the way, we're still looking ahead to the rest of the season here. Again, very thankful for all the support we got for doing the trip from Mosport down to Darlington. We already are in the process of looking to get stuff set up for Darlington to Phoenix. Again, it's all completely up in the air. A lot of it's contingent on what where we get credentialed for. We're certainly hopeful about Phoenix because we had a great experience there last year. Really enjoyed covering that event, the semi final round there, and the debut of the new infield. Texas, we've never done before. We got some friends down in that area that we want to say hi to as well. So making it a much shorter road trip than what we did on the East Coast, but we're going to definitely have some folks aboard on that and look ahead to that. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and go into our trivia segment here as we now get closer to the 1 hour mark. Where are we on the timer? We're going to just take a look here. And the timer shows we are just past the 1 hour and 7 minute mark. So, okay, so we got a little ways to go. Let's make sure that the Twitter feed, okay, there's gonna be a little bit more ado because we got to get the call up here. I want to pull up Pocris's page and make sure we got that up there. Okay, we got standings updates. Do we have anything new on there? Interview with Keselowski. Okay, still nothing on there. Okay, so we'll keep that up there in case we get the call here pretty soon. And then we'll find out if Kevin Harvick is going to officially be your winner or if it's going to be a situation where anybody further back is going to find themselves with a new trophy in their hands. Okay, so first question of our trivia segment. We're going to use the Ricky Rudd car again. What was the movie name of the driver of the mellow yellow car in the film Days of Thunder? Pound sign. I don't know why it shows a pound sign there. What was the driver? Okay. What was the driver? Did I read that right? What was the driver character name of the mellow yellow the mellow yellow car in Days of Thunder? I'm sorry. I'm really tired today. The movie character name of the driver of the mellow yellow car in Days of Thunder. I believe that's the question that it's asking. Let's see. Can I get the question back again? I'm sure I read that wrong. Can I do that again? What was the movie name of the driver of the mellow yellow car in the film Days of Thunder? Okay, there we go. Yeah, Cole Trickle. There we go. That's the one. Yeah, that's worded again. Okay, now we've gone from tricky questions to questions that are just not worded very well. So we're going to get some real challenges here for sure, folks. Okay, going to the answer there. Of course, the answer is Cole Trickle, driver of the mellow yellow car. And by the way, check out my Twitter feed there. There was somebody that posted a realistic model of the mellow yellow car from Days of Thunder. Like they made it so it actually had all the road dirt on it and the tire marks and everything. Really beautiful job. I don't have that right in front of me, but definitely congratulations to the person that made that. Let me get that pulled up too. That was really hip. Should be on my main feed here still. Let's check that out. How about be further back than here, further back than there, further back than there, or there. There it is. Yeah, the Cole Trickle Daytona 500 win build. Okay, here we go. Yeah, you guys got to see this. Look at that. Oh my goodness. It doesn't show up great on the camera there, but you can kind of see it there. Let me turn that a little bit there. There we go. So yeah, I mean, the tire marks, I mean, it's just perfect. It's got that dusty kind of like flat black on it. The silver rims, the AC spark plugs logo. I mean, it's just great. It's just great. I just love that. I mean, that's really amazing work. Model building right up there with comic book drawing. That's probably like a couple of skills that I would really like to have, but I haven't put the time in there to develop that. I really admire that. That's incredible work. There we go. Let me pull this feed back here. Whoop. We're still experimenting with the screens. Whoop. Let's get that back here. There it is. Whoop. Come on. There it is. Who is the user on that? Let me make sure I credit that as well. It was posted on Reddit here a few days ago. It's posted by BDR57 on Reddit there the other day. Man, that is, yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Okay. So moving on, we'll get to the next question here. Fast facts, next question. Yeah, of course we want the next question. We want to find out what the next thing it has in store here. Okay, next question, folks. How many races did Ricky Rudd win in 1989? Okay, again, that's the one trick with this thing. We're going year by year through his career. How many races did Ricky Rudd win in 1989? 89. We have 3 as the first guess. Any other guesses here? 1989, driving for Kenny Bernstein and the number 26 car. I believe he still had Larry McReynolds on top of the pit box, if I'm not mistaken. We have 1 for another guess. Any other guesses here as to how many races Ricky Rudd won in 1989? Do not look at Racing Reference. Try to guess it right off the top of your head. We're going to stop and get the answer here in just a moment. Let's turn that way. Okay, here we go. And the answer is 1. Beast of Metal. You got it right there. That should be, if I'm not mistaken, the inaugural Cup Series race at the Sonoma Raceway, then the Sears Point International Raceway, defeating Rusty Wallace. Okay, true or false? Tire pressure does not affect the handling of the car. True or false? Tire pressure does not affect the handling of the car. We have false. Any other guesses on that? False. There we go. I believe you guys are correct, and the answer is false. Okay, you guys got it. Next one. Let's get some hard ones. Who won the Winston in 1992? Okay, we're blowing off the dust here. Who won the Winston in 1992? The Winston event in 1992. For those of you who are younger fans, that is what they then called the All-Star Race. What is now the Monster Energy NASCAR All-Star Race, whatever mouthful of that it is. Okay, Davey Allison, you guys can't fool you guys. Davey Allison, there you go. All right, come on, we got to step this up here. What track did Ernie Irvan in his first race? Oh, his first race. Okay, now this is vaguely worded, so it can mean a number of things. Now, does it mean his first Cup race? Does it mean his first Xfinity race? Does it mean his first race of any other series? But what track did Ernie Irvan win his first race is the way the question is phrased. You have Sears Point, okay? Any other guesses? The first track where Ernie Irvan won his first race. Let me phrase that correctly. We only have 1 guess so far. Any other guesses for the track? Which track saw Ernie Irvan win his first race, the first race of his career? We only have 1 guess so far. This is a challenging one. It's interesting when it brings up other drivers on this one because you have a different one. A track. Hey, there we go. Good guess. I think you might get this one, bud. All right, let's pull it right up. Bristol Motor Speedway. Bristol. Hey there, Judson. August 25th, 1990. Now, the interesting thing with that, I mean, that was a year where the Morgan McClure team was still running Oldsmobiles for a while. I think, if I remember correctly, they had switched to Chevrolets by the time he won that race. So, very interesting. I believe he had a pole or an outside pole in the spring race, and then he won the night race in 1990. Again, we very nearly saw a first-time winner in the Bristol night race this year with Matt DiBenedetto, and it would not have been unprecedented. I think Irvin's one of the only ones I could think of that won their first race in the night race. The spring races, of course, seen people like Rusty Wallace win, and Kurt Busch, and Elliott Sadler, and there's got to be some other ones. Those are the big 3, though. Those are big ones. 2000, 2001, 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those are big ones. I'm sure there's other ones. If you can think of other people that won there. Oh, yeah. Dale Earnhardt. The big elephant in the room. Yes, there you go. Dale Earnhardt. That's the one. But yeah, a lot of people win their first race in the spring race. But yeah, again, I'm trying to think of anybody else that won it in their night race. I think that list is a lot shorter. Irvin's very, very rare creature indeed. And certainly his level of competitiveness and his determination. I guess that plays directly into his hands there. All right. Who is the car owner for the number 22 Pontiac in 1998? Who is the car owner for the number 22 Pontiac in 1998? The car owner. Now, here we go. Bill Davis. Any other guesses? The car owner for the number 22 Pontiac in 1998. I think Tony Stewart won his first race in the September Richmond, if I remember correctly, at least in Cup. I don't remember. I don't remember where he won his first Busch race. That one I'm not sure. Again, I didn't really follow Busch as closely, but yeah, I believe Cup, because that was when they had consecutive first-time winners. We had, much like we had this past summer with Justin Haley and Alex Bowman, you had Joe Nemechek winning at New Hampshire, and I believe that was the week after Tony Stewart won at Richmond, September of 99. So yeah, there we go. Good times. But who is the car owner of the number 22 Pontiac in 1998? It is Bill Davis. Correct. Bill Davis Racing. Little did we know they would only be around for about another decade, and then scale back from there. Get a little water here, folks. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, they shut down after 2008. That was a rough deal. Some of the best looking cars out there, too. I know Jeb Burton did that throwback to Ward Darlington, I believe the first year that they did throwback weekend. That was one of the best looking cars. That was really, they accidentally stumbled into something pretty awesome that year. So that was a good looking ride. Who holds the record for the most championships as a crew chief? Here we go. Who holds the record for the most championships as a crew chief? Not the most championships, period, but who holds the most record for the most championships as a crew chief? Any guesses on that? Chad Knaus. Now, okay, that could very well be. But remember, the one problem, though, is this is 1998 Ford. So we have to add on to that question the most championships as a crew chief as of at least 1998. So the current record. Yes, it's a challenging part. That's a challenging part. It could even be, I mean, this is the thing where you guys, it has with old trivia. I think the Trivial Pursuit one we've had in the other shows is about the same age as this. So that's always a tricky part. But okay, Dale Inman is being the guest here. That seems to be the case. Yeah, there we go. Got to use the old BDR number. That was good. All right. The answer is yes, Dale Inman with 8. I believe if you listen to the NASCAR, I think it was at the Scene Vault podcast talked about this. Wasn't he was a crew chief for Earnhardt's first championship too, wasn't he? There was that. And I don't even know if he was a crew chief for all 7 of Richard's championships. I assume he was, but I'm not sure. It's different. That's the thing with Petty Enterprises. It's such a closed circuit of things. But yeah, 8. There we go. 8 for Dale Inman, the record at least as of 1998. So a different result here. Yeah, we're all just waiting for the tech results. That's the whole thing with the show here. So yeah, we're just kind of filling the time here. Where are we on that? We'll go back to the clock here. All right, we're coming up on it here. We're pretty close. We are pretty close. We're about hour 15 into the wait here. So we should be here pretty soon. Let me take another look at Pockrace's page. I don't see any new posts. Let's take another look here. All right. Do we have anything on there? Is it still the Keselowski interview? Yeah, looks like the Keselowski interview is still at the top of the list here. And that was posted 3 hours ago. Okay, this is 27 minutes ago. Still the standings results. Okay, so not yet. Not yet. Okay, so we do not have anything new on that yet. So we'll keep checking back. Alrighty. How many races did Ricky Rudd win in 1990? Probably saw this coming. We've done a few cycles of this. How many races did Ricky Rudd win in 1990? Okay, we have 2 is one guess. Any other guesses here? 1. Any other guesses? 1990 for Ricky Rudd. I believe at that time he was driving for Rick Hendrick. He was now in the Levi Garrett Chevrolet that he took over from Jeff Bodine. And how many races did he win in that car in 1990? 84 with Labonte. Okay, I was incorrect. Okay, it was Richard. That's right. Doug Richard was the championship crew chief for 1980. So 84 with Labonte. Okay, there we go. All right, thank you, Beast of Metal. There you go. Alrighty, and the answer for this is 1. Rudd just won 1 race in 1990. If I was it Watkins Glen? I'm pretty sure it was, because I mean that was that time that he and Rusty were dominating the road courses there. Oh, did we get a result here on this? I didn't see anything. There we go. Right on. Okay. Congratulations, Roblox. You got it, man. Okay. True or false? Junior Johnson's teams did not win a race in 93. Ooh, okay. True or false? Junior Johnson's teams, his teams in the Cup Series, did not win a race in 1993. Any guesses on that? Junior Johnson, the famous, the last American hero, team owner, had, I believe, 2 cars at that time in 1993. They did not win any races in 1993. Is that statement true or is that statement false? We have false, we have true, we have a split authority. Everybody's not quite sure. So think about who was driving the cars those years and who was able to pull off any victories that year. Whoop, you've seen that page jump a little bit. Okay. And the answer is true. It was true. The team did not win any races in 1993, but the team did win races in 1994, including the most recent Cup Series win for the McDonald's car, and a streak that, as NASCAR Man pointed out on Twitter earlier today, has extended all the way to today with the issue that Kyle Larson's team had there too. Go ahead and fire away, Roblox. If you have a question, jump right in, man. Yeah, and that goes for everybody. If you got questions, we're vamping for time now at this point. I didn't plan on going through the action of the races quite so quickly, so we're definitely waiting for inspection results here. Am I going to buy NASCAR Heat 4? Probably not. I mean, I'm not a big video game guy. I'm more of like, when you have a lot of these channels out there where you watch people play video games, that's kind of more designed for my kind of speed. Because that's I don't really play them that much there, but are you? I mean, is that what you're looking at? I mean, I really like. I mean, if I were to do it, like it would probably be just like my old Papyrus racing days where I just mess around with the paint schemes. That's it. Because I did a lot of that, and I just kind of like did accelerated time races and just see if like I could make the stat numbers accurate enough to do that. I was kind of doing more of that aspect. And of course, that whole thing, that's completely left me behind. I was speaking with the folks up at Mo Sport there, including the gentleman, gosh, I got to get his name correctly. The gentleman that designed Michael Annette's car for the Xfinity series. He was up at Mo Sport, and just the level of detail that they work with and the way that they're able to kind of come up with these different designs, they just do an incredible job out there. All right, let's see. I got his name up here. I apologize if he's watching here. Let's see. Current. Okay, I don't think it was. No, it wasn't him. Gosh, I know I got it up here somewhere. Was it him? I think it was him. There we go. Yes, I believe. Okay. Yeah, that's right. David Damboys. Exactly. Okay. Big shout out to David there. Again, I'm sorry. I'm terrible with names. I met so many people again these last couple of weeks. I'm still catching up on that. Big thanks to Dave there. And again, his work there with the schemes. I think the Michael Annette car looks pretty cool. Independent of what happened with the Mike Harmon situation this week, it ended up getting a little bit more attention in a slightly different way than I'm sure they anticipated. Yeah, I met him and Steve McLean up at Mo Sport. We got a picture together and everything, and that was really cool. So I really appreciated that. All right, well, let's move on here. I don't see a call here yet. Okay, let's move from this. Next question on the thing. Next question coming right up. What track did Ricky Rudd win in 1990? What track did Ricky Rudd win in 1990? I looking to do like a gaming channel there, Roblox. Good deal. Good deal. YouTube's a lot of fun to get into. I'm trying to get back into it there, but I mean, I mean, talk about another thing that's just left me behind completely. I mean, I'm doing these live streams and stuff, but I'm feeling like I'm just catching up with everybody. But everybody's got a different approach, so that's fine. I think there's places for everybody out there. We have one guest for the Glen. We have another guest for Bristol. Any other guesses as to what track that Ricky Rudd won at in 1990? The 1990, his first year with Rick Hendrick, his first year with Hendrick Motorsports, again taking over for Jeff Bodine. Bodine, he who won the and both of them spin race at North Wilkesboro in 1989. The answer is Watkins Glen. There you go, Roblox. You got another one, man. Yeah, seriously. In this thing, it's spelled Watkins Glen wrong. It added 2 N's. So it's like a Glenn Fireball Roberts kind of thing, or that kind of deal. Okay. What year did Jeff Burton win Rookie of the Year? There we go. There's a good question. What year did Jeff Burton win Rookie of the Year? You might be able to get a fourth one here. Okay. 1993 is our first guess. Any other guesses? What year did Jeff Burton win Rookie of the Year? Jeff Burton. We saw him in the broadcast today. And but he's been in the sport for quite a while. Okay, we have a guess now for 1994. Any other guesses? Jeff Burton when he won Rookie of the Year. It was a stacked group the year that it was. We have another guess for 1993. We have one for 1996. Okay, now we got a split here. Okay, so we're gonna get the answer here in just a moment. Let's get the answer, and the answer is 1994. 94. There we go. So Roblox and Beast of Metal, you guys got it there for sure. It's 94. That was a very stacked rookie class. Made it very interesting. You had a situation there with what was it? Joe Nemechek. You had Joe Nemechek, you had Ward Burton, you had Jeff Burton, Loy Allen, who won the pole for the 500 that year. Oh gosh, there were so many other ones. It wasn't Kenny Wallace. Kenny Wallace was 93. Steve Grissom, I think, was another one. And yeah, so many of these other ones. So yeah, there you go, man. Okay. How many races did Ricky Rudd win in 1991? Okay, well, there's a couple of possible answers for this one. There's a couple possible answers for this one. If you are aware of the 1991 season and Ricky Rudd, if you think about it in that context. How many races did Ricky Rudd win in 1991? So there's 2, there's 13. Okay. 3. Boy, I wish he won 13. I'll tell you what. 3, 1, 2, 1. Should have been 2. There we go. You're getting pretty close to the answer right there. This thing still says 1. Okay. 1, of course, being the Spring Darlington race in 1991. Race that Michael Waltrip should have won. Unfortunately, Waltrip was dominating the race. Fortunately for him then, but unfortunately, a pit stop undid him. Very similar to what we saw with Kyle Larson last year at Darlington. That track does not forgive. You lose a little bit of track position, and you are paying for it the rest of the day. Was flagged the winner as the at Sonoma at Sears Point later that year, and then was lost the race on a technicality after bumping Davey Allison into a spin, coming to the white flag. Was given the black flag, and the checkered flag was given to Davey Allison, equated to a 5-second penalty, which was just enough to give Ricky Rudd second. Apparently a big snafu as to who was officiating the race, who was available there, the West Coast. Pretty notorious story in there, and ultimately Ricky Rudd was on the losing end of that and cost him a victory at a track that he was absolutely dominant at, and had that race won for sure. But ultimately, for Davey Allison being his only road course victory in the Cup Series, very similar to also being Dale Earnhardt's only victory on a points race at a road course in 1995. Whoop, we think we have a refresh on the page here. Let's take another look. Let's take a look. Do we have a call? Yeah, ref car through the ages. Yeah, you're right, man. Okay, I'm not seeing standings. Nope. Okay, this hasn't been refreshed yet. There we go. I'm seeing the Bubba Wallace interview on there. Oh, okay. We are at the 90-minute mark, so any moment now we should have a call. Let's see. We should have a call on technical inspection at any moment. We are looking again at Pocris's page. I do not see an update. It's now been at least 38 minutes since we have anything on there. So again, we are still in a holding pattern, and we'll keep the screen right there. Keep it right here, folks, as we await the inspection results from Indianapolis. Okay, so we'll keep doing a few more questions here, folks. Let's jump into the next one here. All right, fast facts. Next, I saw another one of these online. I might pull the trigger on it. And once we get to the point where we're starting to repeat questions on this thing, we're gonna try to find some more creative solutions here to fill these future shows. All righty, what pit crew had the first 16-second pit stop? Ooh, what pit crew had the first 16-second pit stop? There we go. Now we're talking. We're talking some good trivia now. What pit crew had the first 16-second pit stop? Now, nowadays, 16-second pit stop is pretty slow. And of course, we're talking it's sometime around 1998, maybe a couple of years before. But which team had the first 16-second pit stop? I mean, nowadays, what? I mean, I think we had somebody back there that had a 13.3, and that was like a solid stop. But I mean, you want to try to get a 12.9 if you can. Dale Earnhardt, Flying Aces, Dale Sr., Rusty Wallace. Okay. Bubba interview. Okay. Several good guesses. Rusty Wallace, Jeff Gordon. First 16-second stop. I'm going to hit the button here pretty soon because I've got to know this too. I'm not sure. Earnhardt seems like a good possibility. But Rusty Wallace too. I mean, you know, I'm thinking maybe the Wood brothers possible. Maybe they did something with Morgan Shepherd. Okay, the answer is coming up right now. And Penske South. So Rusty Wallace. There you go. So Steele Langford, you got it, man. So Penske South had the first 16-second pit stop. Now, I mean, this is the same year that they started the second team with the Cranifus team, but I assume that would be listed under Penske Cranifus there and not under Penske South. But that Penske South was how it was worded on here. So that should be, at least at the time, Rusty Wallace's team back in 1998. By the way, really liked the throwback scheme on the 2-car last week, and they looked like they had a good run at the start of the race, so that was cool to see it out front. The 96 paint scheme is not one of my top favorites, although it did win over at Suzuka. Yeah, it says Penske South, so it could be Mayfield, but I would think it would say Penske Cranifus. This is technically a different technical alliance there for the 12, but yeah, I would say Rusty on that one if it says Penske South. It didn't say Penske Racing South, and it didn't just say Penske; it said Penske South on there. So, for what I recall, that was at least that. I'm trying to remember when it actually changed names and they try to trade that around. Have any other updates on here? Nope. Still got the continuous loop of Keselowski there in the background. Excuse me, folks. Okay. Alrighty. What track did Ken Schrader win his first race? What track did Ken Schrader win his first race? Super K won a pole not long ago over on the dirt track. Was it DuQuoin or was it Springfield? I think it was DuQuoin or DuQuoin. I'm sorry. That's my California coming out of me. DuQuoin there for Schrader. That was a big story over there. Even they were talking about that at Mosport too. I know the folks that were sitting across from me were talking about that. So that made a big story. Talladega, we got guesses on here. Atlanta, North Wilkesboro, Dover. Several guesses. Okay, Ken Schrader's first win took place at Talladega Super Speedway. Interesting fact, the last 3 races that were held on July 31st, including this one, all had first-time winners. So that would include you had the July 31st race in 1988 with Ken Schrader. You had the July 31st Brickyard race won by Paul Menard. And then I believe the July 31st race at Pocono was rain delayed, or it was either scheduled on July 30th and was moved to the 31st, or it was rain delayed to the 1st and scheduled on the 31st. And that was the one that Chris Buescher won when the fog rolled in. So 3 first-time winners in Cup Series races around July 31st. So there's a little bit of bonus trivia for you guys as well. I don't believe we didn't get one on July 31st this year, but perhaps next season, and we'll find out if that streak keeps going. Alrighty. What track did Ricky Rudd win in 1991? Oh, okay. Well, I apologize, folks. I gave that answer away earlier. What track did Ricky Rudd win in 1991? That was Darlington. The Lady in Black, the spring race, Trans-South 500. Alrighty. What year did they disqualify drivers for refueling under a caution flag? Ooh. This is a disqualification show. We got ourselves a disqualification question. So what year did they disqualify drivers for refueling the cars under caution? What year? Now that's a good one. 1990 is our first guess. Any other people want to guess? Jump. Nothing you can lose by braving a guess. This isn't Jeopardy. We're not going to take away points. 1967, 2001, 1991. Refueling under the caution flag. Refueling under the caution flag. Newman and Boyer of Past Tech. Okay. So I guess we got that started. Excellent. Thank you, Roblox. We'll see if that's going on over here. So they are locked in officially. Okay. 1981. Any other guesses here? We're going to hit the button here pretty soon so it doesn't reset on us. Okay. The answer. When were cars penalized for refueling under the caution? The answer is 1956. 1956. That stumped the group there. 1956 drivers were penalized for refueling under caution. I thought you guys bad booking in Steel Langford. You picked 91. That seemed like that was going to be it. Because that was going to be, you had the different, the tire strategies. You had the odd number stickers and the even number stickers. I think they had penalties for changing tires under caution or under caution versus green flag. So they had something like that. But yeah, 1956. So now, obviously nowadays you can refuel the car under caution, no problem. So at some point that was repealed. I don't know when. Maybe that'll be the next question on here. We'll certainly hit the button and find out if that's the case. But we'll keep going from there. Alrighty. What do the letters WCRWA stand for? WCRWA. What do those letters stand for? WCRWA. What do those letters stand for? That's all it gives us, folks. I don't know what category that's from. WCRWA. Winston Cup Racing Winners Association. That's a good guess. Ooh, any other guesses on that? WCRWA. Within the NASCAR context, WCR, I think it's the Winston Cup Racing Wives Auxiliary, if I remember correctly. I think it's that one. Yeah. Winston Cup Racing Wives Auxiliary. There we go, Steele. You got it, man. You got it. There we go. Yeah, that one took me a second too. I was kind of going over and I'm thinking, I almost thought of something like Inside Winston Cup Racing. Because I remember IWCR being the thing all the time when they had that show on the air. They shortened it to that. But there you go, man. Yeah, Winston Cup Racing Wives Auxiliary. There you go. Watch that on CMT at 8 on Wednesday evenings. I like it. All right. Pockers will probably have the tweet about the Boyer and Newman deal here. Running a little extra innings here. I guess it's running longer because we got to deal with not only the race winner, but we also got to deal with the people further back at points. Okay. Yes, 3 minutes ago, we do have the confirmation of that. Both the Newman and Boyer cars have passed Tech, so playoff field is set. The playoff field is set. So Tech not complete. They also have the 6 and 14 in Tech. If any issues, interesting. So if there's any issues on those two cars, they were going to Tech the number 41. Clearly that's not the case because the 6 and 14 passed, so no issues there. So the 41 sent home. Suarez will not make the playoffs along with Jimmy Johnson. Now the question remains, where is Harvick going to be seated in the championship standings? Did he get credit for this victory, or is he going to go to the second place finisher? So we are still on the clock waiting for the call. We do not have the call yet on that, at least from what I'm seeing on Pockers' page here. Alrighty. Turn off the race line and go for football. Yeah, this is a problem. It's difficult this time of the year where NASCAR is competing against the week 1 of football. We had a very similar situation to that when I was doing some work with the Sonoma Raceway, and we were promoting the World Touring Car Championship making their second race out here. The only stop in the entire U.S., and they chose the Sonoma Raceway to run. And they run all over the place. They run the Salzburg Ring. They run in Russia. They run in all these other places. And then suddenly they come out here. Out of all the tracks in the U.S., you think about that. Think about, you think about Lime Rock. You think about Watkins Glen. You think about Road America. You think about Mid Ohio. You think about, even like that road course out in the middle of nowhere in Utah. I mean, you think about all these places in the U.S. that they could have gone to. Or if you expand it to North America, then you now you got to go to the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. You go to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. You got all these tracks in North America, and they picked the Sonoma Raceway. It's a tremendous honor. But the big problem was the event was the exact same weekend as the final home opener for the San Francisco 49ers at Candlestick Park before they closed it down. It was like the exact same day for the event. And I guess the Giants were in town at the same time. So there was that. And we had to compete against both of those at the same time. And it was very tricky. We had a very good crowd. It was a little bit less than we had the year before, but it was incredible. That was definitely the thing. So, but, I could definitely empathize with NASCAR on that. Was struggling with competing with football. I mean, you're just not going to a degree. If you can't beat them, join them. Obviously, Steve Letarte and Rick Allen doing a little bit of trash talking about the Steelers versus the Patriots. I mean, that's all nonsense. Everybody knows it's all about the Buffalo Bills, but that's just me. Shouldn't. All right, let's see. Alrighty. Seems like they burned a lot of caution laps today, Bob. Yes, they did. Didn't seem to be the best of days as far as track cleanup. Yeah, that's understatement right there. Okay, so still no call on Harvick. We're hoping that we get the call on that pretty soon, but we're gonna keep running this until we find out, and then we'll get the articles posted today. I'd like to get them out today. This is the thing, especially when you see me in this room. Generally, things are as I'm coming back from work on a night shift here, but luckily I don't have night shift on Mondays, so it kind of lets me reset after that. Yeah, Bills fan for the Bay Area. How does that work? Not too well. But I got my picture taken in front of New Era Field when we went up to cover Watkins Glen, and that was cool. I grew up a Raider fan. I mean, that's still big in this family for sure. My parents actually met at a Raider game. The time the Dolphins got knocked out of playoff contention after winning the previous the previous two Super Bowls back in the 70s. So that runs pretty deep. Actually, we're gonna go and we're gonna be watching the Monday Night Football game tomorrow. Watching that together at home. Visiting the parents' place and checking that out. So that'll be cool tomorrow. I really been enjoying the documentary, the HBO series they've been doing. Although it turned into the Antonio Brown show, which I'm not really too which I don't think was planned. It's been unfortunate situation. I mean, I think there was a lot of weird stuff going on there. I'm no football expert. I'm going to leave it to the experts at that. But as somebody who's dealt with frustrating team dynamics before, especially in an athletic context, I used to be in a rowing team back in college. You get somebody in there that's not pulling their weight, or somebody that's throwing a lot of distractions in there, that can just completely mess you guys up. So probably not the most surprising statement to make. You can probably pretty much picture that no matter who you are. But I think for the Raiders, the probably best solution was just cut him before the season started. And there was the story that I guess Antonio wanted to have himself cut. I mean, again, I'm getting way into the weeds on this because I am definitely walking a tightrope with no wire here. But that was the thing. But yeah, I grew up a Raiders fan, but I watched like a lot of these documentaries on the different teams. And when I saw the one of the Bills and I heard about the 4 straight Super Bowl losses, I'm like, boy, this sounds kind of like my team. This sounds like my team. There's a lot of persistence there. Fight on, my men, Sir Andrew said. A little I'm hurt, but not yet slain. I'll just lie down and bleed a while, and then I will rise to fight again. The anonymous poem quoted by Coach Marv Levy. So many fun names to say, too. I like the names of a lot of the classic Bills players. You talk about Cornelius Bennett. You talk about Jim Kelly. You talk about Frank Reich, Darryl Talley. So many. Bruce Smith, Andre Reed. Gosh, I mean, just watching those old clips and everything like that. I mean, they just look like an electrifying team to watch. And I wasn't watching them at the time. I mean, I was about the same age that I was. I mean, the time that they were dominant was about the same time that I just started getting into NASCAR. I didn't really kind of start getting into football a little bit more until I was in college, hanging out with the guys and stuff, and completely making an ass out of myself when the Raiders were flubbing the heck out of the Super Bowl in 2003. But man, that was really bad because I was down in LA and nobody liked the Raiders down there. Nobody. Nope. They were playing it in San Diego. They were playing it against Tampa. Like, who cared about Tampa? Like, really, back then? Warren Sapp and all that, and John Gruden taking the playbook with them, and knowing every move that they were going to make. And that was not a good day. I mean, now if I say that that's like the worst day of my life, I would consider myself very fortunate. But yeah, that was no fun. I will tell you. Thurman Thomas, yes, I actually have a Thurman Thomas jersey, 1994, like reproduction, of course, but I wear that all the time when I go to the local sports bar. I think I had some pictures of me wearing that a while back. I gotta admit, and the thing was really exciting when the Bills made it into the playoffs for the first time since like 99, when Andrew Dalton threw that late pass there and got them to beat what was it? It was the Ravens there on the last day, the last game on the last day of the season, and bumping the Bills into the playoffs, and they hadn't been in there forever. And, a lot of people dump on that first game the Bills had against Jacksonville, that first round, but you know what? They were holding like the number one defense to the number one defense to 10 points. I think that's pretty dang good. Now, maybe the Bills were also getting held to 10 points, and eventually the dam broke and it went the other direction, but I think that's pretty good. Or was it the number one offense? I don't know. I'll leave that to the Stephen A. Smiths of the world. What will I say if both Harvick and Logano fail tech? Well, ifs and buts, not so sure. I don't think that's going to happen. I ain't holding my breath on that one. It would be highly unlikely, but that would be pretty exciting. I think I'd be more excited if Bubba just took the victory lane. I think it'd be great for a great story if we actually saw him take the victory on his own terms there. But a win's a win. I was in it was very weird at Darlington when Denny Hamlin was disqualified. I'd missed Hamlin's interview after the race was over with, because I was out in the garage area there talking with some of the other teams and catching up with them. I wanted to catch up with Camden Murphy because he had a great run out there, but I missed him. But then I came back in there, and shortly after that is when they made the announcement, and then they brought in, like I say, Cole Custer and the Buckshot Jones lookalike, and then that sponsor representative that was carrying the trophy. I thought it was the crew chief at first because I don't really follow the crew chief beat that closely. And I was thinking, well, okay, if they're going to trust this guy with the trophy, he's got to be somebody pretty close to the team. And it wasn't Gene Haas. I'd recognize him at a few clicks away, but that whole deal there. But yeah, that was interesting there. Whoop, do we have any other calls here? But yeah, I don't know what I would say on that, but you'll find out here because we're gonna keep going with this until we get the call. Okay, I don't see anything new here, at least in the last 9 minutes. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. Excellent. Oh, great. Thank you, Beast of Metal. I just saw your comment there. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy the shows here. I know it's a little bit more, a little simpler than some of these other shows on YouTube. I just do it very basic here, but if you guys don't mind me rambling on until we get a disqualification call, I'm perfectly happy to jump right back in. We are going to be doing a show next week for Las Vegas. I believe that will be at the other location, the one with the big screen on the wall. And then we'll be back here at this location for Richmond, I think. Richmond, yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah, that'll be a night race. Well, that'll be fun. Okay, so do this under the lights. Well, even more lights. But yeah. And if you're interested in the book, definitely check it out. For anybody that's out there, if you're interested in copies of my book on JD McDuffie, I do still have copies in stock for my own personal collection, $20 per copy. They're available at the if you go to my website and click the cover of the book on the front page, there's details, link to my paypal.me page, and you can check that out there. Also, for those of you who are, if you have copies of the book that you're looking to get, so you're mailing them to me, just an update. We're probably going to change the mailing address on that pretty soon. We're going to move to a different post office box, probably in the next month or so. We'll have more updates on that. When that comes up, we'll definitely give an update there when that comes about. But so far, you could still use the one that we have on there for any correspondence on that. I know we've had a few letters come through on that. And again, I'm very appreciative of all that support, of course, because that definitely helps us keep us going. and keep putting one foot in front of the other, and hopefully doing some more races in person, because I love doing the coverage there and bringing that to you guys. And we are looking to do Phoenix, Texas, and we're going to find out. So let's see. So add over. Let's do a few more questions here. I didn't quite count on it going quite this long. I'd started the show a bit later, anticipating that they would do the call earlier, but they do have a lot to go over. So, all right. Here we go. Okay, next question. What track was Bobby Hamilton's first victory at? Okay. Okay, there we go. What track was Bobby Hamilton's first victory at? Phoenix is the first guess. All right. Any other guesses? Talladega. Any other guesses where Bobby Hamilton's first victory was at? I think his first was. I think grammatically, probably take out the at. Where is it at? Where the party at? Rockingham, we have guesses. Phoenix, Talladega. Any other guesses here? We'll hit the button here pretty soon. Phoenix is the answer. Yes, Phoenix, 1996. First win for Pettinger Presidents 83. You are correct. Bad booking. There you go. Good catch. That's right, because the wins for 84 with Mike Curb after the controversy there. All righty. Next question. What track did Ricky Rudd win in 1992? Ooh, here we go. What track did Ricky Rudd win in 1992? What track did Ricky Rudd win in 92? First guess is Dover. Any other guesses on there? Any other guesses on which track Ricky Rudd won on in 1992? The next guess is also Dover. Do we have other guesses? Martinsville for Ultimate 23 Dragon. Any other guesses on there? First two guesses on Dover. Then there's Sonoma. It's also good. All good guesses. All tracks that he is very good at. Our man here in the number 10 car. The answer is Dover. There we go. Dover is the question there. Yeah, I didn't have to wait this long to see if Jonathan Davenport made weight or not to be officially declared the winner of the World 100 on Saturday. Yeah, this is unusual. I think I don't know what the record is for the longest disqualification show we had. I think our Daytona show is pretty long. Actually, I think both the Daytona shows are pretty long, because we had there was the 500, which went long at that point, and then we had the Justin Haley one, where there was a lot of that controversy about how long they were even calling the race. So we'll see what the situation is. But this is certainly up there. This is intriguing. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. 15 seconds ago. All 16 cars will do at least the initial weights and measures after playoff races. Not sure how many will be fully torn down. Okay, an update 16 seconds ago from Pockrass, just an update on the rules situation. We do not still have a call. We still do not have a call. And we are now well past, I think we're closing in on 2 hours now, at least since I've hit the timer. Timer has since stopped for a while there. All righty. Okay. True or false? Next question. There has never been a race run at Bristol International Motor Speedway caution free. True or false? There is never, we got the double negative here. There has never been a race that was run caution free at Bristol. True or false? There has never been one. True or false? Alrighty, let's take a look here. True or false? Okay. Do we get a caution-free one here? I almost thought it was going to be the one where it would say about like somebody leading all the laps, because didn't Cale Yarborough do that? Seems like Cale Yarborough did a lot of things. All right, the answer is false. The answer is false. So we have had races caution-free. This is where it gets tricky to kind of map these things out. I almost have to bring a chalkboard in here and chart all that out and figure what the deal is. Okay. Alrighty. So there's never been one without a caution, and that is false. So there has been one with no cautions. Yeah. All men are mortal, not all men are okay. Yeah. Okay. Whatever the thing is. Okay. Doesn't give me the year, but I'm sure you got that. What years did the twin qualifiers for the Daytona 500 count as official races. Now, to clarify, they do have points for the races now, and they've done it for a couple of years, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about as of 1998. What years did the twin qualifiers at Daytona count as official points races? Which years? So a beginning year and an end year. The answer will have to be a beginning year and an end year prior to 1998. When did the duels, so basically the duels, or what were then the twin 125s, taking a look at the page, jumping a little bit here. What years did they count as official points races? Okay. We have 59 to 64, 59 to 71, 61 to 63. We have just 71. We have 59 to 71. Okay, we have a number of different answers here. We're going to hit the button here in just a moment. The button is about to be hit. The answer is 1959 to 1971. The races in 1968 were rained out. There we go. So 59 to 71. You guys have the answer. So we had 1, 2, 3 people guessing that. At Roblox, you keep your streak going there. 59 to 71, technically excluding 1968, although they were going to be run for points races, but they were both washed out. That Bill France weather did not pull through that year. Chastain will get any other cup ride with 15 again. Okay, I don't have any news on that. I need to get in the. I've only talked to Ross once, and that was before Sears Point. I have not had a chance to talk with Jay Robinson or the other team owners around there on that subject, at least. But yeah, nothing. I don't have any rumors to disseminate on Ross yet, but it wouldn't surprise me. Especially, I mean, watch for things to pick up. I would say if he wins the Truck Series championship, that's gonna be the next big goal, and I'm sure that's where his focus is right now. And the rest will kind of work itself out, especially with all the stuff he's gone through this last year. Again, I remember being in Phoenix last year when he made the announcement for the Ganassi ride, and it was horrible when that all fell through. But it's a tough business, and he's a tough guy, and we'll find out. Yeah, I don't know what the status is with the colleague team or anything like that. I haven't talked with Mr. Colleague or the members of the team there yet. But be interesting to see. How many races did Ricky Rudd win in 1992? How many races did Ricky Rudd win in 1992? Any guesses on that? How many races did Ricky Rudd win in 1992? The answer: we have one, we have two. This is a little unfair with Ricky Rudd one. I mean, it's kind of like, yeah, it can only be a certain number of numbers, and I know you guys are definitely long-term fans because you're all guessing the right number of numbers here. Alrighty. 1992, the answer is 1. The answer is 1. So 4 of you guys got that one. So there you go. Alrighty. Richard Petty holds the record for leading at least one race in how many consecutive seasons? Richard Petty holds the record for leading at least one lap, or at least leading at least one race in how many consecutive seasons? How many consecutive seasons did Richard Petty lead at least one race in his career? How many consecutive seasons did he lead at least one race, or I suppose for one lap? We have 26 seasons. We have 3 seasons. We have 19 seasons, 22, 20. All right, here we go. This is gonna be a real good one here. 19, we have 20. Okay. Any other guesses here? How many consecutive seasons did Richard Petty, the king himself? Spoke to him in Darlington last week. Very, very appreciative of him sparing the time there. Definitely signing autographs is just as much as ever. He looked good, and it was good to see. Actually, person behind me that was getting his I think he was getting his backpack signed or something like that. He was saying, it's like, man, he was calling his friend there on the phone. He's like, man, 80-year-old man, he's really cooking along just like he always did. That was good to see. All right, the answer is 34 seasons, 1959 to 1992. Wait a minute, that's just about his whole career. He led it. Well, I guess, yeah, 92. He did lead the 92 400. Wow, how about that? Straight from the track, just heard 4 is past tech. Somehow not you legally much faster than everybody else, but there you have it. Okay. We may have a call, ladies and gentlemen. We're almost an hour 49 into the show here. We're going all the way. It's like a telethon in here. I don't see it on Pockrace's page yet, but we may have a call. So that'll be the situation here as we continue to wait for the updates. It's better to be right than to be first. That's definitely true. I have to find myself typing a little slower on my tweets myself here. Okay. Next question. How many races did Ricky Rudd win in 1993? Will you be in Vegas? We originally planned on doing Vegas next week. Unfortunately, that fell through. We ended up pushing that later this year to doing Texas and Phoenix. That's still technically unofficial because we don't have don't have anything locked down. We're kind of working on the little details to make sure that works. Flights and all that kind of stuff. But that's our goal. We're unfortunately not going to be in Vegas this year. Perhaps next spring. We do have our eyes on that. It's definitely a venue we'd like to do. We're trying to do as many new venues as possible. And also as many races that aren't getting as much coverage that are still in the NASCAR's top 3 series, which is another reason we did Mosport. And Darlington is just fun. I mean, Darlington is like it's literally like a NASCAR fan convention because you got everybody out there wearing old gear and stuff, and that is totally my bag. I'll tell you what, I would love to do that again. I don't know if we're gonna do it every year, but I would be perfectly happy to do it as many times as I'm able because I love going out there, and Kerry Tharp and folks out there do a really good job. I heard something about them talking about doing the 1940s or 50s theme at Darlington next year. That would be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. I don't know. But that would be something. Do I think Jimmy Johnson's going to retire next year? Nah, I don't think so. Yeah, I think, and I really don't know if Jimmy Johnson's gonna be the fan appreciation tour type where he's just gonna say, okay, this is gonna be the way I'm gonna do it, or if he's gonna do it like Junior, where he just decides midway through the year, it's like, yeah, I'm kind of done here. I don't know. Okay, the thing reset on me. How many races did Ricky Rudd win in night? Was it 1993? Did I say? If it's 93, I think he just won the one, so it should be right. Okay, it's refreshing with a different question. Okay, I'm sorry, folks. Let me cheat here and get the page up here and make sure we got that. I think we were up to 1992 or 1993. At least it was. I'm glad it wasn't a cliffhanger question here. We're gonna get this here. I think in 92 he just won Dover. In 93 he won Michigan because that was about the time that he said he was going to leave and start this team. I don't think he won another race in 93. Let me look. 93. Yeah, just the one. Okay. So there you go. Oh, okay. Hang on. Do we have a refresh here? Do we have anything? Do you have a call here on this page? Nope, not that. Nope. Still don't see it. Still up in the air. All righty. Let me get this question again. Okay. All right. Next question. What was the first race in which Kyle Petty passed his dad, Richard Petty, for position while on the track? Okay, wait a minute. Okay, what was the race? What was the race where that happened, or what was the track where that happened? What was the track that happened? Can I refresh that question here? What was the first race in which Kyle Petty passed his father, Richard, on the track? Okay, that's what I thought it said. Okay. What was the first race where Kyle passed his father, Richard, for position is the other condition, while on the track? Okay, now, I don't know if it's asking for the track or the race itself, the event name. I'm going to go with the track here. I mean, whoever gets the track there, I think will be, that's close enough. I think it's a little too demanding to have it beyond that. But what track did that happen at? The first lead lap pass for position between Kyle Petty and Richard Petty, where Kyle had passed Richard on the track. It says on the track, so I assume not on pit road, but on the track. We have 86 Rockingham, Do I just wear 14 out like Elliott buying out Hardy for 95? I don't know about Rudd's team starting. I thought he started pretty much from scratch, but I could be wrong about that. That's another thing where I would really hope that the Scene Vault accomplishes their ultimate goal of getting the entire archives online, because those are the kind of questions that I would love to do the research on and dig through that and say, okay, yeah, it was from here. This was there. That would be really interesting. But okay, what was the first race where Kyle passed Richard Petty for position on the track? I gotta know this. I'm gonna pull this up right now. The answer is the Gabriel 400 on June 15th, 1980 at Michigan. Oh, it's really specific. June 15th, 1980 at Michigan. The June race at Michigan in 1980. Wow. Now there you go. There's some history for you folks. That's some history. First time Kyle passed Richard for position at Michigan. Yeah, so there you go. You're very close, bad bookings. There we go. Interesting. Well, hey, I wouldn't have guessed that. Okay, this is getting ridiculous. Where is that call? I still gotta get those articles done tonight, man. Come on. Let's get that call. Hopefully I'm not just missing it completely here. Okay. All right. New post. 2 minutes ago, IMS President Doug Bowles has said he has already talked to Brad Keselowski about the tire barrier. Bowles said to Pockrass after the race, quote, "There's an opening for the road course, and it is also our crossover as a way to get trucks across. So I sat down with him to try to get his ideas on where it is. We look at everything, right? Anytime there is an incident where a driver says something about it or not. So we'll take a look at it. I'm excited that he's got some thoughts. I know that the IndyCar guys have some thoughts. In fact, I'm going to try to hook him up with a couple of the IndyCar guys, and we'll take a look at it. Obviously, it did its job. The tire barrier did its job." Oh boy, there's a line I'm familiar with hearing. The barrier did its job. Well, okay, yeah, but okay. So that's the latest tweet on Pockrass's page. Still no call. I know I saw the post here earlier in the chat about inspection wrapping up, so we should be anywhere near there. Yeah, good conversation, says Keselowski. Appreciate him learning and asking. So, okay. So apparently no hard feelings there between Keselowski and the IMS officials as they look into a way to avoid an accident similar to what he endured there during today's very wild Brickyard 400. All right. Let's see. Okay. So let's get our next question here. What track did Harry Gant win his first race at? We're back to this again. What track did Harry Gant win his first race at? His first race for Handsome Harry. Mr. September. The guy from Taylorsville, the Carpenter. Wilkesboro, Martinsville. Harvick's the official winner, pretty much from what I saw earlier here, but I still haven't seen on Pockrass's page. And just because that's what we've done in the past, I'm still going to wait and see if it comes up on his. Okay. Answer here. Okay, hit the QA button. And the answer is Martinsville. Yes, Martinsville indeed. Harry Gant's first career Cup Series victory. And we go into extra innings once more. Gosh, I think we finished talking about the races about an hour into this. Yeah, like I say, I'm gonna really push to try to get the articles in tonight. If I don't, it's gonna be sometime first part of tomorrow. But because I do have some good stuff in there, I want to make sure it's as good as it can be on there. But luckily, I got the start on the Xfinity article earlier, and I was wrapping up that a little bit this morning, so that should be pretty good. Let me get the next question here. How many races did Ricky Rudd win in 1993? Okay, I thought we did that one already. Are we just now to 1993? So how many races did Ricky Rudd win in 1993? We have one. Any other guesses? This is the one problem with this one, the Trivial Pursuit one. We'll go back. I think we'll go back to that next week for our Las Vegas show, for our Sin City show. Yeah, I'd love to do Las Vegas, but probably next spring. One is the answer. Just that win at Michigan. I think bad booking. You were pointing that out earlier. Yeah, the trivia car is a lot of fun. Oh, where'd I get this? Years ago. Got this actually in 99. I think it was at Target or Toys R Us back then. But yeah, just there's some of them on eBay. I was hoping I'd find another one at Darlington because they have all the old merch haulers and stuff out there. They had some really good stuff. I actually found the thing that was really cool. I mentioned on Twitter, found an old Ted Musgrave card, and it was perfect because Jacob, the gentleman that was sitting 2 seats over from me, his family was involved in the DeWitt racing team that Musgrave drove for in the 90s. So I gave that to him, and he really got a kick out of it. That was cool. But I didn't see any of these there. I'm keeping my eyes out. I'm looking to grab another one of those things online. I think that would be really cool. Yeah, 50th anniversary Trivial Pursuit game. Is that like the little gray thing, like the little computer gray things? I have that. I brought that over to Darlington actually. We actually got some use out of that when I was hanging out at the Starcom hauler, waiting for the rain to die down a little bit. That helped pass the time a little bit. But yeah, no, that thing's really cool. I got one of those bad boys too. But I've seen other ones with these. I don't know. I assume with the other cars, they have more targeted questions to the driver that happens to be the car of, and it's got this little screen. Can't really see it very well. There you go. Get a little bit of the reflection there. And it's got the 2 buttons here on either corner. This one repeats the questions, and this one here gets the question answer function. I've seen one like Jeremy Mayfield, Bill Elliott, and Kyle Petty. I know they have those. I'm thinking the Kyle Petty one would be pretty cool. If I pull the trigger on one of these, when we exhaust the questions on this, I'm seriously considering making a business investment and getting another one of these for more of these, because I think these have really challenging questions on it. Trivial Pursuit thing's right up there too. Oh, you found one? There you go. Right on, man. Let's see. Fast facts. Okay, next question. Oh my goodness. What does the term drafting mean? What does the term drafting mean? Okay. What does the term drafting mean? Kind of looks like Racing Champions mold. Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's a die-cast body. This is metal here, and it's got a plastic undercarriage, and it says 1997 Mattel on here. Oh, so yeah, it's Hot Wheels. It's a Hot Wheels deal. So remember, Hot Wheels had those really big, bulging cars, kind of like this, kind of really over-exaggerated proportions. Yeah, to stay tucked up on another car and use their speed to gain speed. That works. You suck up off the other car to make it go faster. Hot Wheels. Yep, Hot Wheels on this one. I see it's got kind of the plate race, kind of smooth front end there, so you can see that a little bit. That's not the best view. There you go. Kind of get that shot. But yeah, here we go. Okay, answer. 2 cars running nose to tail at a high rate of speed, period. 2 cars running nose to tail at high speed. Okay, well, there you go. Yeah. 2 cars running nose to tail at the super speedways. Yeah, you guys got it. That's a little too vague of a question here. Oh, doggone it. Where are we on this? Where are we? Oh, my goodness. I'm going to start taking phone calls here pretty soon. Well, I'm not, but that would definitely be too much. Up. We have a call, ladies and gentlemen. 2 hours, 2 minutes into the show, we have a call. Post-race tech is complete. No issues. Repeat, no issues. Harvick is the winner. Playoff field is set. Kevin Harvick is your race winner. Landon Castle is your last place finisher. Thank you so much, everyone, for sticking with me today. And a very wild weekend in Indianapolis. Very interesting stories of the last place battle. We'll get those up there as soon as possible, if not later tonight. First part of tomorrow. The Xfinity Series last place finisher JJ Yaley, Cup Series last place finisher Landon Castle. We'll get those posted up there very soon. But in the meantime, again, thank you for staying tuned with our trivia segment. We'll be back next week for another round of the disqualification show as the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series heads over to Las Vegas, closer to here at the original NASCAR headquarters here on the West Coast. We will not be at the track. However, we will be watching it very closely and seeing what happens at the back of the field, as well as to the playoff contenders. And we'll catch up on that as we enter the final stretch of the 2019 season. So again, thank you so much for tuning in, folks. LastCar.info is the website. At LastCar on Brock is the Twitter, and Patreon.com/LastCar on Brock is the Patreon. Stay safe, everyone, and we will talk to you next week for more last place action.